interrupt room. So this video is about like romantic relationships. So something about me, I don't date, never dated. So I in 2025, like I kind of like chilled out a little bit. So something about me is that I think because of the busted relationship I had with my dad, like daddy issues are always a thing. They're always a thing. They're always there. Sorry, Midsummer Murders is on this whole series. But because of that relationship, it was not the best growing up. And it's not like an abusive relationship or anything. It's just like an emotionally distant kind of relationship. Me becoming an adult, I did start to seek a lot of that validation, stuff like that. In boys when I was, a child, and then men when I became an adult. And so for the last like decade of my life, like my 20s, I've been hyper fixated on like dating and relationships, and this is the person I like, and I have all these intense feelings and all this kind of stuff. And even when I turned 30 was there, but like sometime late last year, I feel like really November, December, I started shifting. And I think it's because I'm not gonna try anymore. It's not like, oh, like I'm not gonna like try and date it, but I'm not really gonna try anymore, especially with like these masks on and talking to people and interested in people and like all these intense emotions. I feel all these intense emotions, and I'm just like, oh, that's exhausting. I think because in my mind, I vetted the relationship I have with my dad in a certain capacity, I don't feel the need to seek. I think if growing up with daddy issues is like the center, once you start to like reevaluate the relationship with the dad, you can start to really, like that tether, that string, relationships with other people kind of start to shift. And so I started to shift from really not really caring what my dad thought to not, and really caring what other people like these men thought to really not. And I think I'm kind of like happy about that, because that was like a large part of my life that I allowed to like take over, this like desperate need for validation, a desperate need to be seen, a desperate need to like all this other shit. And so now I kind of just stopped and kind of have shifted. Like, I don't know, I feel like I'm much more focused on like what I want to do. And I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm happier than ever, like, but I just feel like I'm getting the satisfaction of the stuff that I just want to do, and it doesn't involve like them. And so I'm like, yeah. It feels good. I think it means I'm turning the corner in terms of where I'm going in my life, because such a large part of my life was trying to figure that out, that now I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm not trying to psychoanalyze it. Maybe I'll go to like a therapist and talk about relationships, romantic relationships, but I just want to go to like talk like about stuff and figure things out and have like a plan for what I want to do, and not necessarily having them in the center of that. So I don't know if this is like a decentering men type thing. I don't really feel like it, because I still interact with men, right? Like, and I don't find men to be like awful. I don't find men to be like just god awful, but I just, that if it's not in a professional capacity, generally I don't interact with men like that anyway. I do interact with them like sometimes semi-romantically, physically, and other, but I'm just saying, like, it's not like as deep, right? Like, it's not as deep and pervasive in my life. So why like be so stressed? And I think a lot of the things that I should have been doing because I was like following, what this person is doing and stuff like that. Like, I didn't like do anything with my life, and like I have to like own that. I can't just be like, oh no, they were responsible. No, I was responsible for that. Ain't nobody tell you to be looking over here with this dude and you got shit over here that's a problem. Did nobody tell you to do that? You did it on your own because you wanted to, right? And I think more women should take responsibility for that. Like, nobody was telling you to like do this stuff. Like, you felt like if you didn't do it, you weren't gonna get like the love or something like that. And I feel like if you live or you're interacting with somebody who kind of acts like that, like, you're not doing exactly 100% what they want, and they'll like just take back their love or they'll take back whatever. That's probably not a good relationship to be in to begin with. So there's that. But yeah, like I feel like in 2025, especially like as it kind of wears on, because we're almost into February, like interestingly enough, as we move forward, I kind of am less and less interested. One of the other things is because I'm into tarot, right? A major part of me being in tarot was like love readings and looking at love readings and figuring out love readings and what they're thinking and stuff like that. And I just realized the energy behind all of that is really like, I'll still watch them, but it was like a desperation type thing going on. And I'm like, oh God, it occupied so much of my mind. And now to kind of be like more interested in just like other things is very freeing and refreshing. And I'm like, I hope to become the bad bitch that is more on her path and into her shit. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking about, like romantic kind of things, and kind of realizing, like, I think I've said this before, but being on these always like messaging people and always wanting a response back and always looking for a response back, and what, why are they, trying to like, whenever there's like a vacancy, like a void, you trying to like fill it, because it's like, to leave it like that just seems like weird, and you want to just always fill in the vacancies and stuff like that, and you want to fill in the voids, you want to make the assumptions, you want to make the connections, you want these concrete things, and because they're not giving it to you, you have to give it to yourself. But usually it's the worst option that you give yourself, right? Instead of them being like just busy or whatever, it's like, oh no, they're not interested and stuff like that. And it could be like very true. They could like just not be interested, and they just, as a result, they're not talking to you, which is probably what's going on with me. As a result, like they're not, talking to me as much. The people that I've interacted with. But at the end of the day, like, do I personally want someone who is off and on and is, because I haven't been the best person either with that, but I am more, I feel like, consistent, and if I like you, I like you. But this off and on, stop and start, kind of thing, like, especially if you're into men, I don't really feel like they're stupid. I feel like they know what they want. They just, you need to know what you want, and it's okay. Like, if they're not what you want, you have to be like, okay, no matter how good they look, no matter how much chemistry you have, no matter like how much you hit it off, like if they're not what you're looking for, it's okay to let it go. And I think that abandonment wound is starting to feel less of a wound for me, and it's why I'm able to, like, I think, kind of let things go. And then also, like, when I was younger, I thought I was gonna get married in my early 20s, early to mid 20s, and I'm in my early to mid 30s. But like, I thought my life would be so much different, and like, looking back, like, would I have even liked half the stuff that I wanted when I was that age regarding relationships, romantic relationships? I don't know if I would have wanted half the shit now that I wanted then. And so I'm kind of glad that like none of that came to fruition, because I can definitely see myself married and divorced. um with like kids or whatever. And I kind of realized I have a lot of tendencies to make up what I want this to be versus what it is. And I think a lot of women fall to that. It's just because you don't follow your intuition about the whole situation. Like you just like you want to see like potential and stuff instead of seeing what it actually is. And I think going with the flow, and like going with the flow isn't necessarily like you have to accept like, oh, like I'm not looking for anything seriously. If that's not your vibe, like you can accept that and go with the flow, like but flow somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to like deal with what they're doing. You can just be like cool and then bounce and then like move on to something else. But you're still in your flow state. You're not, what I'm saying is you're not in their flow state, right? They're going with the flow, whatever the fuck they're going with the flow with. You're going in the flow with whatever you're going with. And it's okay, like, it's okay. It's okay. So yeah, in 2025, I just kind of like realized like I'm less interested in doing things with other people or waiting for that perfect person to like go this place and go that place and go the other place. I'm way more interested in just doing the stuff now and not necessarily waiting for a partner. And I think if you're single, don't even like, I feel like try to like do things by yourself in the hopes that like somebody will like come in and like change it. Like I feel like the expectation, like release the expectation in general. I think that'll work just in general, and not with the hope that like you're gonna get your need met because you're gonna like detach yourself, right? Like we've all done that like manipulative detachment type thing, unless you're just like someone who's like really good about it. But yeah, so 2025 is feeling really good in terms of like growth and development. It is. I'm feeling like a lot more centered, a lot more at ease, a lot more understanding of myself, a lot more understanding of myself, a lot more interested and what I'm doing, a lot more interested in living my life without other people, you know, doing their stuff and projecting onto me and making me mold myself for them. And I think a lot of that does stem from like familiar relationships, just across the board, not necessarily just parents, but familial relationships. And how as an adult now I'm willing to do the work on myself to like be happier and to be my own person. So yeah, it feels really good. I think this is the first time where I genuinely feel like I'm happy that I'm single. Like genuinely happy that I'm single, that I get to experience life in this way, and that I'm not gonna have like the issues that I have are issues that like I don't need to triangulate somebody else in, and they're not issues that I have to like go and resolve with like somebody else. They're kind of issues within myself, and that is like that's a very hard challenge to begin with. That's like one of the hardest battles right there, dealing with yourself. But then I can do it, and then I'm capable, and that I'm not like reliant on somebody else having to want to participate in healing, right? Like if you're trying to mend a relationship, the other person has to want to do that shit, like to meet you halfway. And yeah, that I'm free to kind of do the things that I want. That my interests and my likes and dislikes are becoming more apparent to me, even if they're not necessarily the most like, you know, they're not the most sterling, sparkling kind of things. Even accepting like the negative parts of self and kind of realizing you're less perfect than you thought, And even though you're like, you're so imperfect, that it's still okay. But that if you have shit to work on, like, go ahead and work on it, girl. That's kind of where I am. And I appreciate all that. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. 2025, really looking nice. It's a nice year to be single, I think. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.